What's happening? This is Ryan Dawkins, and you're tuning in to The LOFT.
Have brought out the best of me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest today. I have a staple in the Philadelphia community, runs his own boxing gym, Maleek Jackson Boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, Maleek Jackson.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
No worries, man. I've been seeing I've heard of Maleek Jackson Boxing, and my roommate Chris is really into boxing as well, into fitness. I started training at Marquez, and like I said, I've been looking around and I've seen Maleek Jackson Boxing, and I've seen. Obviously the gym is great and everything you do there, but I've also seen, the kind of human being you are and your values and your Muslim religion.
Right.
And I really was just curious on a bit about your backstory and what led you to this. Cause like I said, I've asked around about you and a lot of positive things. And so did you start off in the Philadelphia community? Did you grow up in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I grew up in South Philly on the other side of town. That's where my love for boxing developed. I come from a boxing family. For real, if you're from Philly, this is a boxing city. So,
oh, yeah.
It's kind of in our blood naturally.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's why we give into the Rocky situation so deeply.
Mm.
But boxing, I've been boxing since I was young, though. So it always came natural to me. And then I got some development through coaches throughout the neighborhood in the local rec center.
Mm.
Mary Anderson Boxing Gym, to be exact. Before I transitioned to my older years. When I was young, I was in the gym just like kids.
Right.
The kids I train today.
So where did you start?
I started at Mary Anderson Boxing Gym.
Okay.
Yeah, South Philly.
Right.
On the corner where we used to hang out and play basketball at is a rec center. So the first sport that I was involved in was karate. And down the street from the karate class was boxing. So at the karate, I used to stop in the boxing gym. And then I just stopped karate.
Really? And so was it always boxing for you? Obviously the karate too, but did you play other sports like, basketball, football? Are you involved in that? Or was it just straight up martial arts?
No, I was very athletic. So I did basketball. Not too much football in the organized fashion, but I'll play with my homies,
friends,
homies like that.
Yeah.
But more like gymnastics, like flipping and swimming and stuff like that.
Yeah. I
really took an interest in that growing up a lot.
And so growing up in South Philly, what was your upbringing like?
South Philly is a good place to grow up in. I come from a large family, so a lot of brothers, 9 of them to be exact. I got 4 sisters, a host of cousins. So you just imagine growing up in a house like that.
Got a big family, probably a lot of chaos, huh?
Yeah, a lot of chaos, but you get that bonding when you're young that you don't get. So it was I grew up in a tight family, and then when I was able to stretch my legs and meet friends through the middle school sector and just being around the neighborhood and being involved in boxing and stuff like that, yeah, we were just kicking and stuff like that.
Did everybody know you were a boxer so they didn't message you?
No, it wasn't like that. I mean, I ain't gonna hold you. Growing up, I fought a lot, so I was kind of known for fighting.
Okay.
That was something that I did a lot.
Okay. I'm really curious as well to what drew you to the sport of boxing, because obviously you start off doing the basketball, the karate, but then you really stuck with boxing. So I'm curious as what drew you to boxing.
I think I think I was first influenced with boxing just from the television. So Muhammad Ali had a great effect on me growing up. So I had three idols that that I looked up to when I was a child coming up. Muhammad Ali was one of them. Then it was Michael Jackson. And then it was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, why's that?
I mean, I just love the physical aspect of the body, where you can take it at and stuff like that. So, the way Muhammad Ali danced, the way Michael Jackson danced, the way Arnold Schwarzenegger took his physique to another level, was of interest to me as a young kid, skinny, wanting to, grow up manly, just like that. So, I fell in love with boxing, and it was so easy because my brothers, they grew up doing the same thing, boxing and hanging around the local rec centers and stuff like that. So they kind of like gave it to me. They was like my first teachers and stuff like that. So you can imagine a room, right, where it's all of us, growing up, and then there'd be nights where we'd set up our own boxing match. So 2 of my brothers be the coaches, and two other brothers would be going against each other.
Oh shit!
So we had like stuff like that kind of like cultivated me, and made me love it even more, especially when I got in the gym. I got to moving and got some direction.
Yeah, I feel like you were kind of at an advantage too, because you're constantly surrounded by competition. And so did you feel like you were competing with them a lot when you were growing up?
Yeah, but not in that aspect, like competing for like.
I guess more so naturally. So I have a twin sister, and I feel like
that's wild.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
Yeah. So I feel like for like a little, and when you're growing up, obviously we're not competing, but it's just like the sibling bond you guys have.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys had that, like where it's like you guys just mess with each other and really like push each other?
Yeah, ain't no doubt. I think I got like, especially like my brothers, I got a different relationship with all my brothers. The baseline of it is for love, but with certain ones, I'm more competitive with, and especially like the ones that's right under me, like my little brother,
for sure.
right under me, and the same thing with the brother that's right over me,
right?
So. And
so, what's your relationship like? Like I say, I like to know about people's families and how they grew up before I really start to dive into what they do now. So, like, what was your relationship like with your mom and your dad?
Well, my relationship with my mom and my dad was that I was raised by my aunt, my mom's sister, growing up, and my mother and my father, they struggled with addiction at the early part of my life, and my aunt kind of stepped in and took care of everybody and kept everybody together. These days my mom is still around, my dad's still around, and they they no longer dabbling in their addiction, so that's good. But I come from an untraditional upbringing, like most kids. From the inner city of where I come from.
Okay, and real quick, can you move the mic a little closer to you a little bit? That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That way it picks up better. But no, so I was gonna say, so you said your aunt really stepped in.
Yeah.
Into your life. Having your aunt step in, what did she instill in you as she really, took the reins of of raising you?
I think that like the number one thing that my aunt tried to teach us was purpose and direction. Like, man, though she was coming from Georgia, relocating to Philly, trying to find her own purpose and her own direction. It was natural for her to, try to, bring us up upon that. Of course, love and compassion for everybody, but more like, brings us up.
Do you think that her loyalty and dedication to you guys was her purpose?
I think that she made a lot of sacrifices and trade-offs to stepping up to the plate, and I think that she found purpose in that. Yeah,
that takes a lot for someone that isn't directly yours to step in and take control, which I really admire and respect about her, and I can only imagine how it led into your life today. So do you think that there's anything from her that you've taken into today?
Yeah, my aunt, she's the most giving woman that I ever came across. The sacrifices and trade-offs is not just with her time. This is her whole life. To raise, a group of kids that, it's not yours, and to have one kid of your own to raise in addition to that, with no male support, it's tough.
Yeah.
And then to raise them kids and try to get them kids guidance, and to lose some of those kids in their upbringing to gun violence, it's heartbreaking. So for me, when I got to an age of discretion and that I can really understand right from wrong, then I always got the long talk, because she had seen the effects of of what the outside, you know, had on the kids that she dedicated her time to.
I was gonna say, I'll let you finish. I just want to ask real quick: Did you lost siblings in your life?
Yeah. Unfortunately, so, you know, out of all my brothers, 3 of them was killed. My older brother was killed when I was 7. I seen him get shot right in front of my face. My other brother was killed when I was going inside a prison during the start of my sentence. And my baby brother was murdered on my way outside the prison, on my way out, before I was released. So, you know, having an older brother that we lost to the streets growing up, my aunt will always, you know, use that as an admonishment and as a way to, allow us to be heard, but allow her to be heard as well. Because, you know, when you raised without your father, then you look up to your brothers and your uncles and stuff like that. And then after that, if you ain't got no male figures or male role models, then normally the ones that have that impression on you is the guys that, you know, excel at whatever you catch your eye. If that's basketball, if that's, you know, things that it's impactful or less impactful. You know, as a kid, you know, you wildly impressionable. You know what I'm saying? So as boys, we was boys.
Right.
We was boys. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know how we was boys.
Yeah.
And she had a fear that, you know, that will repeat.
The cycle will repeat.
Yeah.
And is that where the Muhammad Ali's and the Michael Jacksons came in for you? Because you mentioned, like, when you lost your older brother, like, you didn't really have a male role model at that point, I assume, right? And
Right.
so is that when they kind of, like, took that place?
No. I think they drove my interests and my passions about, you know, the things that I want to spend my time doing throughout the day. But as far as, like, having a role model, you know, I took from my older brother. I took from my older brother, Dirk. And he was killed when I was 16 at the beginning of me going on the other side. So, you know, when you look at life, right, it throws you so many curveballs, you got to find a way to get out the way or overcome. And for me, boxing was something that I always kept on my hip. And I just didn't use it in a physical sense.
It was like that thing that was always there, but you never really applied it until you were forced to, in a way.
And I think that not only that, like, being so immersed in it, realizing when you get back up, what assists you in that. And when I really started to begin to understand and analyze that and look closely, it was just the mindset of the boxer, you know, the will to overcome, you know, the self-esteem to, you know, to keep going and persevere.
And that seems like a common theme in your life, is the overcoming and the persevering. And when you went to jail, what kind of things did you have to overcome in there? Because, like I said, like, I can only imagine losing your brother and just having all these constant obstacles and constantly having to reevaluate and, like, overcome these things. So when you went into jail, how old were you and when did you come out, and what did you think you had to overcome in there that ultimately did lead you to the Maleek Jackson boxing gym?
Yeah, I went in when I was 16. I came out when I was 26. That's a whole dime.
10 years.
That's a whole dime. You know, roughest part of my life. But prison developed the man out of me. It, you know, it allowed me to take the time and draw a benefit from it. And I didn't succumb, you know, like so many people do. And I think that the things that I had to overcome was just outgrowing the mindset that first set me in there, and just realizing that there's more to life, and trying to find my own purpose and my own direction in life. And I found that through like just being myself, like just being me, like my number one word is like individuality. Like I'm myself. I cheer for people who do not try to fit in, and they show up as they are. And with boxing allowed me to do that naturally. And then at the same time, as a young man, building my self-esteem, building my mental fortitude, and overcoming the mental.
Just the mental obstacles. And honestly, what it sounds like is that you started
the psychological effects that prison can have on you, because it's the lowest form that a human being can exist on without actually being dead. So if you think about dreaming or having hope, you can forget about it. So you got to dream in a place that's don't have no dreamers. So not only that, you have nothing to pull from your belief for you to believe in yourself that you can, make something out of yourself. And they say prison changed you, but, if that's true, then the recidivism rate won't be so high. I think that rehabilitation is a personal choice. Like, you know what I'm saying? So my time in prison had a profound effect on me. Because I was young enough to know that my life wasn't over, right? And I was smart enough to start the work that would lead me on a different path.
Yeah, and it sounds like prison revealed you instead of defined you. And I think that coming out of prison and starting this gym, it sounds like you give people the chance to rehabilitate and to mold their mind. You give them the chance that you may have never had, or were forced to go through. Right. And so when did you start the process of, you came out of prison and you had this new mindset and you were able to shed the old self? When did you really start to begin like, hey, I should open up a boxing gym?
Well, that's been a goal from the very start. So, and it's about, you can find the biggest obstacle was this, right? I would come home when I was 26. I'd be uneducated in the traditional sense. So I had to go back to school to get an education, to find a job in the work field, then to pay me, right, a substantial amount, a substantial wage, right? That's my situation. Sometimes you gotta set the picture, right? Me coming home at 26 and finding a job is hard. Me come home at 26 for the first time being home in the outside world as a free man, and the first time in my adult life, it's hard. It can have a lot of psychological effects on you. You being challenged with so many different things while you gotta spend this time, it's part of your life in prison without getting out, is a challenge. And then during that time, you gotta figure out what you wanna do after prison while you doing the time in prison is a challenge.
Yeah.
For me, the hardest thing was to figure out what I want to do in my life. So when I was doing my time, what happened was I had a good friend named Taj, and we used to, he used to give me game. He used to sit down and, what I call like help me, develop. And we had this thing where he used to be like, yo, if you had $100,000, what would you buy? Give me a pen and a piece of paper. Tell me what you'll buy. Let me get this. Get this. I definitely gotta get that. All right, cool. Now the second step was, tell me how can you make $1,000, right, without working a traditional job and without doing nothing illegal? Because he knew that the challenges that I would face when I was coming home, right? And those type of exercises caused me to think outside the box. And then he was like, you know, what you want to do with yourself? Like, what you want to do with your life? Man, I don't know. So I sat and I decided what I wanted to do with my life based on the things that I liked, the things that I was passionate about, and things that caught my interest. So when I did that, I wrote down 10 things from those 3 things that I just mentioned. My interests, my likes, and my passions. And then I started eliminating the things that I was less interested in and less passionate about, right? And boxing was at the top of everything. And I said, well, if I find a way to develop in the sport fully, right, then maybe I can pursue a career in boxing upon my release, especially because I got a background in it, right? So I got myself a trainer in there. And we worked for 8 years, right? 9 hours a day, 3 hours morning yard, 3 hours afternoon yard, 3 hours night yard. And he developed me. He started with my feet, then he went to my hands. Then he coordinated the feet and the hands. And then he brought me up in a way, in a sport that I could understand it. And he was a good teacher. I spent a long time with him. So from those lists of interests, passions, and likes was boxing. And then after boxing, if I don't succeed with that upon my release, then I'll be a trainer. Because it would be easy for me to transition from practicing something to teaching it.
Right.
Because I really took the time and I really learned.
And you love it.
And I loved it. So when I was heading out the door to be released, I had a list of goals. Say 10 things. Boxing. If not, I'm gonna train. If not, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. So when I came home, it was a continuation of what I was doing when I was in prison. I still went to the gym every day. Same thing I'm doing now. It was easy for me because I recognized that prison gave me the structure and I already had the discipline. I was 90% ahead of people. I'm up 4 o'clock every morning. I'm praying 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's since I was 17. You talk about if you give somebody something, then it becomes them over time, especially a kid. You're impressionable. So when I came home, I was already in front of people. I knew what I wanted to do. I believed in myself. I had all these years of practice. I was confident. I was overly confident in my ability to achieve any of the things that I set for myself upon my release. And I knew if I failed, I had to do a plan B, plan C, plan D. I didn't care. I just came from prison.
Yeah.
So the transition to what we at now is just a continuation of the journey.
Right.
When I was locked up, I knew I was going to come home one day.
Right.
So I used that time to, develop in the things that I said that I was going to do. And this is how naturally the gym came about.
Yeah, and it sounds like you set yourself up as a slingshot, so you got yourself ready behind closed doors. When you came out, you're ready to go. And I can imagine that being in there for 10 years and having the ideology to be like, you know what, instead of letting this defeat me, I'm going to let it develop me. And so you trained in there for 8 years.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you found Taj, right?
Yeah, my man Taj.
So was he inside and with you?
Yeah, we was all locked up together. Yeah, we was all locked up together. Yep.
And so what was your training like in there? So what were you using to train?
It was just really your physical self in space. Especially out in the field. Because, when I went to prison, it it was like a school for me. Because anything that I was interested in, its teachers was there. From the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So I went to prison, and I really like opened up, and I was like really like, you know, chasing this boxing, and you know, upon you know, my release, it was so many people to learn from, so many people to guide me, right, and so many people to support me. The Department of Correction used to have a boxing program, just like how you see boxing out here, right? So prisoners used to fight other prisoners. They used to go prison to prison.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is where the likes of Bernard Hopkins come from. You know, his career started when he was doing 5 years down Greatersport, and he got in a boxing program, became the state champ, and then came home and pursued the career out of it. Now he's a Hall of Famer. So when I went in prison, you know, the guys like Bernard is celebrated. So he got a big mural of him in Greatersport State.
Yeah, he's an icon in Philly. So when you were in prison, obviously you couldn't really, you know, you couldn't fight, you couldn't do any amateur boxing, pro boxing, and you had your guy Taj in there training you. Was there any other ways you were able to develop your boxing in there, or were you able to, like, I don't know, share it with other inmates? Like, how did you really evolve your boxing inside prison? So,
you know, my trainer, his name was Lou Brown. So he was a great teacher, and he was giving me homework. The homework would be, you know, 3 rounds on the heavy bag. The homework would be, you know, 3 rounds on the uppercut bag. And of course, we don't got no heavy bag. We don't got no uppercut bag. So as far as like the physical aspect of boxing and getting it in, I used to wrap my mattresses up, roll it up, place it against the wall, you know, work it just like it's a heavy bag. Or I used to ball it up, tie it like it's a ball, hang it from the jaw, and work it like it's an uppercut bag. And as far as like the physical aspect of fighting people, you can't do that in prison.
Or else
like
you
not in it, not
or else you go in the hole.
yeah, exactly, not in an organized fashion. But I fought over 100 times during my 10 years, you know, being inside. Just like from just.
What's your record? What's your record?
Oh, I ain't never lose one.
I'll play.
No, I ain't never lose one. But I'll tell you this though. Here's the mindset. And I came to learn this afterwards when I was just sitting down and I was just analyzing, right? I fought over 100 times different people going throughout my journey of being locked up. And I never lost. And when I was thinking about that one day, I was thinking about a fight that took place. And not that I won, I won, right? But what I realized that I don't fight to win. I fight for respect. And once I realized that I was being cultivated on that in the gyms, before the gyms with my brothers in the room. Because every time we used to line us up, it was just before, oh, what happened? Y'all disrespecting each other? Y'all want to fight for respect. At the end, it's a handshake. It don't matter who wins. So, then we talk about mindset, right? So, when you don't fight to win and you just fight for respect, the fear factor is removed. And you much more vicious in your attack. Because you don't care about winning and losing. So you don't care about, you know, the size or the physique of the guy, or, oh, he said he been doing this. What? Oh, how many people? You don't really care about that. A loss is a loss. A win is a win. But I'm not coming to lose or win. I'm just coming just to be respected.
Right.
That was a big thing that I was brought up on, being I had all these brothers, and my brothers come from the streets. You know, so that's the currency. Respect is the currency,
especially in prison.
Yeah. So as far as like, I got that real hand-on experience when I was locked up, and then I came back when I came home, just trying to pursue the sport in the naturalist way, sticking myself in gyms throughout the city, put myself in an isolated situation, after coming home from my isolated situation, benefited me. All the upcoming boxers at that time, I was able to get in the ring with them, move around with them, and just learn the different things about speed, timing, and difference, and the difference between speed, timing, and distance, and kind of like improve myself. But boxing is a poor man's sport. There's more people that comes to the sport just for what the sport offers than it is people that are superstars from the sport. And once I broadened my spectrum and my understanding, like, people fight for different reasons. And now I get that to people. But I had to understand it myself. People fight because they're overcoming a divorce. People fight because they got personal issues in their life. People fight because they got suicidal thoughts. People fight because they maybe going through a rough time in their life, had a miscarriage. People fight because they're getting married. People fighting because they celebrating. People fighting because they overcoming. So the sport of boxing, how I use it in that fashion. I give it to people and I say, listen, this is what I used it for. I used it for when I was inside, and this is what I overcame. I don't know what you've been through, and I don't know what you about to go through. But here go this gift, and you need it, you pull it from. And so, yeah, that's the biggest factor.
You just to overcome.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so when you got yourself out of prison and that slingshot finally flew, what happened? What was going on after that?
Just sticking to it.
So you just kept the ball rolling, and so like you you had in mind. So you mentioned you wanted to be a pro. Right. Did you pursue that?
Yeah, and so upon coming home, you know, I was 26 years old. So being 26, you know, you old, but I still had enough. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
So you still had enough like passion and energy to do it, but I guess to be a boxer, you have to start pretty young, I guess, to like.
I started since I was young. You know, I started since I was young in the sport, and then my first deterrent was the streets, and then I went to jail when I was 16.
Yeah, and
then probably like a year or two after that, I was able to get back into it. Right.
You couldn't do any pro fights though, or amateur fights, which I think. You know.
Yeah, you can't fight in prison at all.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to get back in. I got back into it. So when I came home, right, I was 26. The greatest thing that ever happened to me was I landed in Johan Boxing Gym, right, and I found myself in a position where that I had a lot of insight on the sport of boxing that I didn't previously have, like how much the guys get paid, especially the guys that starting off, how much really goes into developing the fighter and making a career out of it, and I realized that for me, my position in the sport is really not in the ring from what the journey that I had. I need boxing, and I need to always have boxing, and I need to teach it. I need to teach it in a way that it can have an effect on people, right, based off my experience and my journey with it. So when I started realizing this, and I started realizing, I can have a better and a more impact and a bigger imprint in the teacher's seat instead of the student seat, and I can grow in the sport. Then it was natural for me to transition. Right. And then, you know, looking up, trying to find employment, trying to get things rolling. I'm 26, I'm 27, I'm 28, you know. Yeah. I still got to find a job.
Yeah. And so did you find a job?
I created a job.
Exactly.
Maleek Jackson Fitness boxing job.
Yep, exactly. Right. And so with Maleek Jackson Fitness and boxing, what do you instill in your students when you're there?
Just the will to be yourself, express yourself, and find the things that you most insecure about and work towards bettering it. It's just a self journey, man. It's a self journey. What I do, I just really use boxing as a vehicle to teach people the mindset, and I use my experience as the roadmap.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And so, when you're trying to dive and find these insecurities, what's like the main thing when it comes to that? Because I know it's so hard to be uncomfortable, and nobody wants to be uncomfortable. So what do you tell your students when you are trying to find that thing to really, push them into their uncomfortable positions? Like, what do you when you're teaching them?
I think I just challenge everybody to maintain a sense of focus. If you focus, you able to deal with things in real time, and fear and doubt creep up less. But if you swimming in fear and doubt already, just at thirst, it's more easier to drown. Yeah. You focus, you able to make better decisions. And boxing teaches you that. Boxing teaches you focus. Boxing teaches you not only to be focused, you gotta be focused with your eyes and your ears. Not only to what other people doing and what's surrounding you, but mainly to what you doing and how you react. In prison, they teach you self-restraint, self-control, conflict resolution. Even if you don't take it, you learn it because it's a survival method in prison. But out here, you only taught how to react. Everything is reactionary. Yeah. But if you can put that thought between the actions, then that's the difference with anything. Right. And you will find people that just a slight tweak in their thoughts change their feelings, and their feelings lead to their emotions, and they ultimately lead to, depression or being happy or being sad, or whatever the mood is. But it's all about how you think about yourself. Right. If you present, you won't give into the things that cause those things.
My like I said, for the people who listen, I always drop this quote. My grandmom gave it to me years ago. She told me this. She said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. For sure. And life is all about perspective. And so with your new perspective on life out of prison, do you think that what do you think your perspective became, and what do you think it is today? Being in prison for 10 years and having to constantly survive, and being outside of prison and having the freedom to start your own gym and create your own job, like you mentioned. What do you think your perspective is now that was different when you were in prison?
When you look back, you see how much life has happened. Right. The perspective now is, you did everything that you said you was going to do, and you knew the prerequisites to it. You knew it was going to be hard, but you still did it. You knew that obstacles was going to be in your way. It's going to put you down, but you still got up and you overcame. So now I'm on the other side of accomplishments, some of them. I'm able to draw from that belief of the journey when I look back and see how much time that happened, and put it forth to the next chapter, whatever I'm trying to do. And if that's just sharing my story, just telling people, or if that's just telling myself, and that self-talk, that own self reassurance that I need, I get that when I look back and I see how much life that has happened. So yeah.
And what do you think your progression is now? What do you think is the next chapter of Maleek Jackson?
Just to keep building. I'm building an empire. So it's two parts of the company that I own. It's the for-profit side and the nonprofit. But outside of those things, I'm a guy that believes that you should live up to your fullest potential. And you don't know your full potential unless you pay attention to yourself, the things that you love, the things that make you laugh, the things that you're passionate about. So for me, it's just to keep on growing in that human sector of life. And I'll let that guide me to where I'm doing. And I accomplish with the things that I want to accomplish. Everything else is just icing on the cake for me.
What did you set out to accomplish?
Just to overcome the beginning of how everything was. And I did that. And now it's just to patch up the holes and to drop the tears that was caused from the journey. And I do that with the nonprofit.
Make amends.
To do what I do with teaching boxing to the kids.
That's amazing. And so when it comes to your purpose, do you think that you found it?
Yeah, I found my purpose, man. First of all, you can take it's two parts to that answer. I'm Muslim. So, our purpose in life, according to Islam, is, to worship Allah and to, live a life that's dutiful to Him and with peace and harmony to mankind. And I've done that. And then my other purpose in life, from the things I told you that I was interested in and my passions since I was young. I told you how Muhammad Ali had an effect on me. And look what I have accomplished behind that imprint and that impact.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And so you mentioned you prayed in jail.
Absolutely.
Do you think that also had an effect on how you were able to overcome those obstacles in prison?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you get yourself purpose. You get yourself purpose, and it puts things in perspective for you.
Right.
So for me, it was like, if I'm here, then it's something that I did. All right. So now I learn accountability. And then on top of that, I don't just learn accountability from being punished like through a system. I learn accountability from being punished just through religious guidance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's having an effect on me. I think my spiritual belief in what I try to fulfill my life with is the best thing about anything that I do. And I'm saying that because I'm talking about myself.
Right.
It might not be the best thing about what people love about the things that I do, but that's what makes me so good.
Right.
And good in a way that is easy on people, because I allow people, I disarm people. You can be yourself, whatever that is. And that's how I just try to show up, bro. For real. I just try to show up as Maleek. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't try to, put nothing on it. And,
you're just yourself.
This is yourself, yeah.
Right, and I'm honestly really curious about different cultures and the Muslim culture specifically. And what is like the driving force behind it, and what keeps you so dedicated to the Muslim religion?
I guess the more that growing up, you don't really practice as you should. So the more that I got to learn about my religion, the more that I like what it made of me, what it made of my character, what it made of my values, just the legislative part of dealing with people and dealing with business, and it's all fairness. And growing up in the streets, you be wrapped up in a different mentality. So the more that I got that profoundness from Islam, the more that I kind of like.
And you were born into it, right? So
Yes.
You were kind of like, you kind of grew up in the Muslim religion, so like those values kind of helped guide you through your life, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. Just being a young kid, not really knowing nothing, and being around. I used to be around the mosque and stuff like that, but the streets had more of a hold on me. So when I was able to really sit down during my time in prison, I learned a lot. And I mean, I even learned the Arabic language when I was 17. Learned the alphabet, learned how to read it, learned how to write it. So each step it just pulled me farther and farther. Like I said, I like what it made of me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have a question for you in prison, and this is a interesting question, but did you ever, when you were in there, find gratitude in it?
That's a good question. When I was in prison, I was thankful for the fact that a detour like that happened to me in my life, because it adds some maturity to the way I thought. And when that maturity came, I was like, whoa, I'm glad I got locked up.
Hey, like a
because
truck, yeah.
I realized, like, yo, with this I'm 36. So I wouldn't do none of the things that I did, during the time that got me locked up.
Right.
And some of the things that you do when you're young, you don't know what you're young.
You're young,
yeah,
and you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you think that you'd be in the position you are now if you didn't go to prison?
No.
Why you think that?
Because your circumstances and your situations, bring about your outcomes. A good swimmer becomes a good swimmer by getting on the water, not by reading about it.
And you were forced to get in that water.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when it comes to, being out of prison and having that time with Maleek Jackson, boxing and having gone through this journey that you've been through, which is insane. And I got so much respect for you for even coming on, sharing it, and for even getting yourself out of those circumstances. A lot of times people get themselves in a victim mentality and they want to quit. And you chose the complete opposite. And I think that's ultimately what led to your success, and ultimately what I think is leading to the cultural impact you're making. What would you say to someone who is a victim of hard circumstances, hard times, losing family, being in a system that is designed for them to lose? What would you say to someone who is struggling with something like that?
Life is beautiful, man, and like I said, it's unfair, so the hand you dealt is the hand you dealt, and you gotta figure out how to live with it. But what I do know is that with certain tools, with a certain philosophy towards life, right? With good support and good friends, that anybody can be encouraged to be a better them. It's three things, right? I tell the parents when I speak about the kids. They got youth, athleticism, and skill set. They young. Unless you plan on dying tomorrow, you got time. And that's the biggest understanding. That's what I told myself every day when I was doing those 10 years. And of those 10 years, I did 3 of them in solitary confinement. You're still young. Athleticism. Athleticism is important because, first, it shows you your athletic curve. And it shows you if you can take yourself and move it from a 1 to a 2 to a 3, right? It shows you your physical ability. And to have physical ability, the more physical you are, the more that's the first part of your self-esteem is built. And the second part is the self-confidence that's come from you being sure of yourself and whatever you're doing. And that's the skill set. So a skill set is just like the mind. Like you can learn anything. Yeah. You can learn anything. So if you look at yourself and you can pick from those things, you'll be able to give yourself the tools to overcome adversity when it comes to you. Right.
And the preparation breeds confidence, and confidence breeds results. And so with the results that you made, you've obviously learned a few things. And so do you have a philosophy or two or something you live by now that you wake up every day and tell yourself?
Outside of just the blueprint and following it through, my day-to-day just be like my prayers to prayers. One prayer to the next prayer, for real. Like I just be present. Like that's how I get through stuff. Because life is a tornado. Especially for me. And it might seem calm, but I oversee a lot. I'm responsible for a lot of people. I take care of a lot of people, and I'm in charge of a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, and so I want to circle back to and kind of end off on this, but I want to circle back to your aunt.
Okay.
I don't know if she's here or not. I don't know if she's
still with us.
She's still with us. If she's watching this right now, what would you say to her? Because it sounds like that her stepping up led to all of this happening. What would you say to her?
That's one of the most foremost people that I'm dedicated to in this world. Is my aunt. I go see her like twice a week. And I make sure she any of her affairs that she may need that straightened out, that's in order. From the littlest of errands to the big responsibilities.
Yeah,
those priorities. But that's my baby, man. And she's my number one cheerleader. She always been. She was the backbone that I needed growing up, and she is still the backbone if I need her right now. So if she's watching this, you're my baby.
Well, shout out to you if you're watching this. And you seem like you have amazing people around you. You have a great team around you, and
yes.
And honestly, man, like I want to thank you so much for giving me your time and just coming on and opening up like this. I mean, this is probably the realest podcast I've ever had, because a lot of times you talk about stuff that people go through, whether it's like, something that's not as significant as what we just talked about. Yeah. And like I said, man, I think a lot of people can learn from this. And like, also too, like if you're someone who's struggling, like you can come out on the other side, as long as you it's like I said, it amazes me that you were in prison for 10 years, and throughout those 10 years, your constant theme was like, no, dude, when I'm getting out of this, I'm good. Like I'm going to get myself to where I want to be. A lot of times people feel like they're starting over. Instead, you feel like you were just beginning. And it's like, so I want to thank you for coming on, and this is amazing. And thank you, bro.
I appreciate that, man. I don't know. I appreciate you bringing me on and having a conversation like this and giving some insight on people's personal journeys, because I think we all live a relatable life.
Yeah.
We connect through the things that we overcome.
Right.
And if we don't connect through the things we overcome, then we connect from just overcoming, just being, being able to identify like, that I seen you got up.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people should just encourage people to be more themselves. And I think that a lot of our mishaps comes from us lying to ourselves, not liking ourselves, not being ourselves, not trying to find out and discover who we are. And I think that that's a cause of a lot of our depression these days.
Yeah.
Self-discovery is the most peaceful journey that you can embark on, and I encourage everybody to drink from that fountain. Yeah,
man. It's I think we learn as we get older and go through more experiences. Because I know, like, even when growing up in grade school and high school, like a lot of times you try to fit into different crowds because you're not old enough or wise enough to understand that. And when you have that opportunity and you're put in that position where you're forced to, I think you realize, like, once you find yourself and you take that deep dive and being uncomfortable and putting yourself through it, there's not a thing that a single person can say to you. You find that comfort in yourself. And I think a lot of people are scared to go through that journey. So hopefully anyone who watches this or listens to this can take a little bit from you and use that in their own lives. Your gym's doing amazing. Is there anything coming up with the gym or anything you have going on, or just the consistency? Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of things going on, but that's not really important. What's really important is that people, they stop dressing themselves in fake profiles and they show up, like themselves, so we can we can have a change in the mindset of everything. But I got a lot of decent things going on, bro. Alhamdulillah, I'm blessed. And I'd rather not really like talk about the accomplishments like that, because it ain't really about that. Yeah, and that's why I didn't. That's why, like I said, I hit on the why of everything, and like, and with the gym, why should someone go to Maleek Jackson Gym? That's a good question. Find out. There it is. Find out. Where can they find you on social media? At Maleek_Jackson. And what about your gym? At MJ Fitness Boxing. amazing. Well, I know Chris says he wants to get in there, but
come anytime, bro.
Yeah. So no, like I said, I mean, dude, like I said, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Loft. I'm Kevin Nichols. That's Maleek Jackson. Peace, guys.
Peace.